What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham, Juice, and Matthews break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the January 3rd, 2020 edition of Raw Talk. Second straight week, no Jackie Redmond. Not sure where she went. Might be affected by the COVID thing going around right now in WWE and just in general. Although in WWE it tends to be, if you're sick if you test positive, you can be back 5-6 days later. She was gone a week ago, so unless she was sick or has other stuff going on. They didn't mention why she was gone unless I missed something. But either way, she was replaced by Scott Stanford once again this week alongside Matt Camp in the studio breaking down the first Raw of 2020. So to start the show, they recap the ending to the Raw, to the show from Monday night that saw Bobby Lashley knock off Big E, Seth Rollins, and Kevin Owens in a fatal four-way match to earn a WWE title shot at the Royal Rumble against Brock Lesnar later on in the month, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait for that. They also run down the other bigger headlines from Raw on Monday night. I forgot, honestly, what they were. But Damian beating Dolph to retain the U.S. title. Omos beating AJ Styles. Bianca and Liv Morgan stepping up to Becky Lynch. But they also recap the RK Bro loss to Alpha Academy, who beat RK Bro clean. Not for the Raw Tag Team titles. It was a non-title match. But seemingly earning them another shot, or a future shot, at the Raw Tag Team titles. Probably at the Rumble, if not next week on Raw. Matt Camp says that Orton has a lot of reverence for Otis. He has picked up on that in recent weeks on Raw, that Orton has a lot of respect for Otis. Now, we hear from Alpha Academy backstage at Raw. They don't really say a lot, but Gable does say that he has a long list of achievements, including being having a Masters with a 4.0 great average or whatever, being an Olympian, and hopefully the next Raw Tag Team Champion. They also vow to win the Raw Tag Team titles, and that was about it. Back in the studio, Matt Camp says that Gable, if he does win with Otis, would become a Triple Crown champion. And Matt Camp knows this stuff. He brings it up all the time here on these shows. The thing about what he said here was that he made it sound like he would become a Triple Crown Tag Team champion for the first time in WWE, whereas Gable is already a Triple Crown champion in WWE, Triple Crown Tag Team champion in WWE, having won the NXT Tag Team titles with Jason Jordan as part of American Alpha, the SmackDown Tag Team titles with, obviously, Jason Jordan as well, also a part of American Alpha, and the Raw Tag Team titles a few years ago with Bobby Roode, Robert Roode, whatever, when they were briefly teaming. So I don't blame Matt Camp for forgetting about that team, but Gable has already been a Raw Tag Team champion before, so he's already a Raw Tag Team champion. They then recap AJ versus Omos, and Omos quickly beating AJ decisively and, again, quickly. Unfortunately, not a big fan of that finish personally. Jerry Lawler was the special guest on the show. Very rarely do I give a fuck about what Jerry Lawler thinks about the current product, because he has proven and outright said he does not watch the shows, which I can't say I blame him, but he's probably not the best person to be bringing on shows like Raw Talk and Talking Smack to talk about the shit that he's watching, because he's not exactly watching it, is the problem. And he says a lot of generic shit, whatever. But he says that, bigger isn't always better in reference to Omos, and he talks about seeing Spider-Man No Way Home and how the tickets were sold out, so he saw it in an IMAX theater by accident, and the screen was huge, and it wasn't a great experience for him because he was sitting in the front row. To that I say, because you're fucking old. I mean, IMAX I think is cool. For a movie like that, it enhances the experience. Obviously, sitting in front row isn't ideal, but that's your own fucking fault for not getting tickets ahead of time. So, to Jerry I say, not exactly a great comparison. He also talks about how dominant they were as a team and how kind of, I guess, sad he is that they're breaking up. I don't know. I kind of stopped listening after that, to be honest with you. He also does say that Brock and Bobby at the Rumble is going to be unbelievable, which I hope will be the case, and I hope it's not just a 5-minute matchup, but you can't really guarantee that sort of stuff with Brock Lesnar. They also recap Becky Lynch's promo from earlier on in the show that saw, again, like I said earlier, Bianca and Liv Morgan interrupt Becky and kind of stake their claim at the championship. Becky, we hear from her backstage at Raw very quickly, and of all the people that Sarah Schreiber kind of runs down and says, we're getting a triple threat match next week with the winner earning a match against you, I believe at the Rumble for the Raw Women's Championship. That triple threat will feature Liv, Bianca, and Doudrop, who complained to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville backstage about being left out, and even though she's lost every fucking match she's had for the last month now, she'll be in the match anyway. So when Sarah is running down the combatants of the triple threat to Becky, Becky takes particular interest in Doudrop's name. For what reason, I don't know. Because she's a fellow Celt, I guess. Becky had mentioned that. They've never actually, I don't think they've ever gone one-on-one before. I don't know if they've ever actually even crossed paths. I know they were tag team partners on Raw a few weeks ago, but beyond that, I'm not sure. Unless I'm misremembering, I don't remember a match these two have ever had against each other in WWE. So that would be interesting. Doudrop hasn't exactly been built up the best. She has been better off as a heel lately than she was as a babyface, but is she a threat to Liv or to Becky more than Bianca or Liv would be? Absolutely not. I feel like she might be just in that match to take the losing fall, but we'll see. So the fact that Becky was kind of hanging on Doudrop's name here in the segment, I don't know if that's a tease of that her wanting to link up with Doudrop, because they're both fellow Celts, as she said, that she wants to face Doudrop, or she just wanted to say Doudrop's name because she wanted to make a joke out of it. I don't exactly know. But either way, Matt Camp says that any one of them, he would be happy with any one of those women walking into next week's triple threat as the winner, as the next number one contender to the Raw Women's Championship. They then recap the Damian Priest-Dolph Ziggler United States Championship match that saw Priest win and retain the title. Jerry Lawler says that Priest was able to keep his anger in check and could be champion of a long time if he can continue to do so moving forward. And he also says that few people have more momentum right now than Damian Priest, which is partially true. I mean, Damian has been champion since SummerSlam 4 or 5 months ago, has not been pinned one-on-one, not only since he's been champion, but also since he came to the main roster a year ago. He lost one handicap match by pinfall the night after WrestleMania to Miz and Morrison. Beyond that, the guy has not lost at all one-on-one by pinfall or submission, which is impressive. But yeah, with Damian, though, I think he does have a lot of momentum right now. Kind of has been flying under the radar a little bit. Do I see him winning the Rumble the same way I did a few months ago? No, I'm not a big fan of the character stuff they're having him do with the whole, angel and devil, Damian and Priest, whatever that shit is. Oh, he's bringing the Damian out. I think that stuff is dumb, but his matches have been good. He's been building momentum. He's been protected. So, Lawler, for once, was right. I thought his analysis was spot on when he said that Priest has a lot of momentum right now, more than I think people are giving him credit for. And then to close out the show here, they replay the Edge and Beth Phoenix, Miz and Maurice promo segment where they set up the mixed tag team match for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Very quickly to close out the show, we hear from Beth and Edge backstage at Raw with Sarah Schreiber, or Kevin Patrick, I don't remember exactly. And Beth says, she always dreamed of teaming with Edge since they got married almost a decade ago. And, she's looking forward to beating Miz and Maurice at the pay-per-view. And Edge said, had you had told him when he came back to the ring 2 years ago at the Rumble that he would be teaming with his wife at that same show 2 years later, he would have never believed you. And he also looks forward to that opportunity to kick Miz and Maurice's ass at the pay-per-view. And then back in the studio, Matt Camp and Scott Stanford hype up Alexa Bliss's return, or her journey back to Raw, whatever they're calling it, for next week's Raw. And that was about it. Pretty ho-hum episode here. Cool that we got Edge and Beth on the show, albeit very briefly. The Alpha Academy stuff was very short. Really nothing to that. As far as I'm talking about, like the backstage interviews they do, because that's really the only thing worth watching from this show. The actual analysis is pretty bland, typical WWE shit. Just watch the fucking bump if you want that stuff. I don't, because I just don't have the time, nor do I care. But, the Alpha Academy stuff is fine. The Edge and Beth stuff, like I said, was fun, but it was very short. And then who else did we hear from on this episode? I don't even remember. Alpha Academy, Edge and Beth, and then, God, I don't remember. Was that it? That might have been it. That might have been the only people that we heard from on this episode. But either way, it was a pretty middle-of-the-road edition of Raw Talk for this week. Really nothing to go out of your way to see. So it is what it is. But yeah, thank you guys for checking this review. I appreciate it. I have been feeling like under the weather the last couple of days, just with a bad cold. Not a bad cold, but like a minor cold, I guess. It's not COVID, don't worry. I'm pretty sure I'm fine, but I'll be under the weather for the next couple of days, I think, as far as like congestion is concerned. So the podcast should be fine as far as hashtag tomorrow, WrestleRant Radio on Thursday, any interviews that come along the way as well. So thankfully the last couple of days I haven't done a ton of that stuff, so kind of giving my voice and just my congestion, whatever, kind of a rest, but back at it as we begin the new year. So I look forward to what 2022 will bring going into the new year. So thank you guys, as always, for your support. I appreciate it. Stay tuned for tomorrow. We got hashtag AskGSM episode 423, I think, the first one of the new year. So stay tuned for that. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.